Every painter knows that the right tools can make or break your hobby experience. But are the Squidmar paint sets from Vallejo really the ultimate color selection? And is the Redgrass Games Everlasting Wet Palette really as game-changing as they say? Today we're putting them to the test. We're going to check out the paints, we'll see if the wet palette lives up to the hype, compare prices, and put them both to work on the minis included in the paint sets. Will they take my painting to the next level, or will they just be overhyped hobby gear? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know if they're really worth your hard-earned hobby dollars. First, let's talk about the paint sets. There are 3 paint sets: the Essentials, the Dark Future, and the Fantasy paint sets. There are 12 colors in each set, specifically picked to be the ultimate color selection. All the paints are from Vallejo's already existing game color and model color paint sets. Most people have already used Vallejo, or at least tried Vallejo at least once in their miniature painting journey, and already know that it's one of the preferred paints for miniature painters. And for those of you who have never used it before or haven't used it in a long time, the game color and the model color ranges have been completely reworked in the last couple of years. They're reformulated for better opacity, saturation, and flow, making it easier to apply with both a brush and an airbrush. These paints now feature higher pigment concentration for intense and vibrant colors, improved flow properties, reducing brush strokes and making blending smoother, stronger adhesion and durability, perfect for gamers who are picking up and moving their miniatures a lot, and a new bottle design that specifically the tip is designed to prevent dryouts. The game color line are optimized for fantasy and sci-fi, so really great for Warhammer. The colors are specifically picked for that kind of vibe. And the model color ranges are more fine-tuned for historical accurate miniatures, such as like World War II miniatures and tanks and planes and stuff like that. Another big feature of them, and one of the reasons I chose them as well, is that they were also recently fine-tuned to be more eco-friendly, and they really are focusing on non-toxic water-based formulas. With these upgrades, Vallejo has just been reinforcing that they're one of the strongest paints for miniature painters. So really, you can't go wrong with Vallejo paint. So the real question is it worth it to buy it in these sets, or is it cheaper to buy them all individually? The average cost of a Vallejo model color or game color bottle is between $350 and $450, depending on where you get it. Sometimes you can find good deals at local stores. Sometimes it's more expensive if you're buying it on something like Amazon, and sometimes the harder to find colors are also more expensive. Each paint set, like I said earlier, has 12 bottles in it. So at that $350 price, which is like the cheapest you're gonna find them, if you get them all at that price, it'll be about $42. If you're closer to that $450, it's about $54 for those 12 points. The Squidmar sets themselves on the Harder and Steenbeck site that they release them on are actually only $40 each. So that's already a savings if you're getting them at the cheapest price available on average. And if you buy all 3 sets together, you save $10, so it comes to $110 instead of $140. So for the sake of science, I also added all of these paints individually into my Amazon cart just to see what you would kind of be paying if you were paying for them on Amazon. And with all of the paints in there, my Amazon cart came up to $240.16. Now keep in mind, buying them on Amazon is definitely not the cheapest way to buy paint. So you can find them all cheaper individually in other places, like I said, local game stores, definitely. But if you want to get all of the paints that are in these lines and you don't, like say for example, you don't have Vallejo paint already and you're just looking to get these, this is definitely a great deal. Each of these paint sets also comes with a Squidmar miniature so that you can practice on. So each of them have that added bonus of a little miniature that comes with them. So not only are you saving money, but you get that bonus. Thought that was a really cool idea. Just the idea of having everything I need and not really having to get finicky about what paints to get. I will say that the one downfall I've noticed as a beginner is that a lot of the tutorials for beginners are done with Citadel paints, because a lot of people use Citadel paints because obviously those are the ones that go with the Warhammer miniature. So if you're painting a lot of Warhammer, a lot of the tutorials will be with Citadel paints, which isn't that big of a deal. Overall though, I think Vallejo paints are great and I do like them a lot, and I've used other paints and I think that they're probably one of my favorite anyway. So I would say that this is an easy 9 out of 10 for the paint set. Next, let's talk about the wet palette. Now this palette is the Everlasting Wet Palette made by Redgrass Games, which a lot of you have probably heard of or may even already have a wet palette from Redgrass Games. They are one of the top manufacturers for wet palettes in the space, and they have really good high quality, high durability wet palettes. Redgrass Games specifically designs these palettes for miniature painters, so whatever that's worth, it doesn't make a difference. I feel like they are definitely rated higher than any other wet palette I've seen. And one of the standout features of the Everlasting Wet Palette, and another probably selling feature, one of the biggest ones for me, is the reusable membrane paper. Something that sets it apart from most other wet palettes, I think in fact all other wet palettes, instead of using parchment paper, which can break down, oversaturate, and needs to be replaced frequently, Redgrass Games designed a semi-permeable membrane, which is designed to last significantly longer and create better moisture control. In practice, that means two things. One, you won't have to replace the membrane as frequently, which means that it will last longer and you'll get more use out of each paper that you buy. And second, the paper does a better job of preventing oversaturation of your paint, so your paints stay hydrated without getting too watery, which is a common issue in other wet palettes. The membrane is also designed to give you a smoother surface to work on, which a lot of painters would prefer over like the wrinkly and curled up edges that you get with parchment paper. That being said, the reusable membrane isn't completely maintenance free, and after some time it will eventually stain, especially if you leave paints on there for a significant amount of time, which I did do. And eventually you will need to replace it. So some people may prefer just replacing a parchment every time instead of cleaning the membrane off after every use. So I guess it just comes down to preference in that situation. But if you like a more consistent, longer lasting surface, this could be for you. Whether it's worth the extra cost compared to a DIY alternative really comes down to whether you value the convenience and the reliability of it. Now, the reusable membrane says that you can reuse it up to 4 times, or at least 4 times. I will say I pushed that to the max for you guys. So I didn't notice a difference. I've reused it a bunch. I've never changed the membrane. I've washed it a ton of times. I will say, like I said earlier, there has been some staining, but I haven't noticed that it makes any difference if you just put paint over the stain and use it anyway. So overall, I would say that you could probably reuse this a bunch of times, depending on like whether you're painting for competition or just painting armies. If you're painting for competition, you might want a like clean surface to make sure there's no carryover. But like I said, I haven't noticed any. So I would say that you could probably reuse this a bunch. Now the cost is also pretty awesome, and I'm not really 100% sure why, but the Squidmar XL wet palette is $50 on the Harder and Steenbeck site, while the XL wet palette from Redgrass Games itself is $59.99. So I'm not sure if it's just $10 more. I think it might be a version 2, so it might have different features that I'm just not aware of. But it seems like you're paying less money for the Squidmar one for whatever reason, so that's a plus. And on top of all that, it's the coolest looking wet palette you can buy. The Squidmar wet palette comes with this awesome artwork on it, and I looked at almost every wet palette on the market. I've never seen one as cool as that, so I would say that the Squidmar Redgrass Games wet palette is an easy 10 out of 10 for me, and it was literally probably my favorite hobby purchase so far. The final part of this video, we're going to be talking about the miniatures that come in the paint sets. One of the biggest selling features of the Squidmar paint sets is that they're the ultimate color selection, meaning that you don't necessarily need other paint sets. You should be able to paint everything you can ever want to paint with just these paints. And because of that, all of the tutorials that the Squidmar team releases on their second channel, Squidly Bits, will all be featuring just these paints. And now there's already a bunch of cool tutorials on there, like how to paint non-metallic metal, how to paint skin, how to paint power swords. But also, the miniatures that are included in these paint sets also have their tutorials on there, so you can fully paint them with the paints in these paint sets, tutorials done by Squidmar, all in one thing. So that was a really cool bonus feature, I thought. So I painted all 3 of these miniatures using just those paints and the tutorials provided by Squidly Bits. So I'll let you guys at the end of the video be the judge on whether they're good or not. But I will say the miniatures that are included in the Squidmar paint set, they're high quality, high detail models. They're designed specifically to complement these paint sets. The casting quality was top notch, minimal mold lines or no defects that I noticed, which really just means less prep work before you start painting. One standout aspect of these is that Squidmar designed these for painters. So they're designed specifically with painters in mind. They're not just random game pieces, they're display quality sculpts that will let you fully explore the range of color sets. So I think overall they're a quality bonus that allows you to test these paint sets out for free, and like I said, doesn't seem to add any cost to the overall value of the paint. So I think that's a plus. Also, the tutorials overall were really well produced, like all of the Squidmar videos, and they're really short, sweet, and easy to follow. That being said, they are, like I said, a lot shorter and less detailed than you'll find in the average YouTube tutorial video for painting, where you'll see some tutorials like 2 hours long on just how to paint one specific part of a miniature. So they're not the most detailed quality tutorial you're gonna find out there, but they're really easy and quick ways to level up your skills. I'm not going to show you anywhere near like a step-by-step of how I painted these, because I mean that's what the tutorials are for, so you can go ahead and check them out yourself. But here's a quick montage of me painting these miniatures up, and at the very end you'll see the reveal of what they look like in the end.
know who I am. Notasi berotasi telepati, stay the best man. You got it, movement, chill brotherhood. Rangku lintas era, I'm proud to do that. Let's move, tapi seragu fokus titik tuju they say. Jangan jalan di jalanmu, namun kini mereka tiru jalan yang ku tempuh. Mereka ini ikut tren, aku pilih jadi lilin. Walau ku terbakar, aku terangi yang lain. Kopi sampai best, lalu teriak I'm the best. Storytelling tiap baik bak nocturnal, tinggal puf pes. Nilai pola pikir dikdaya tak kompleks. Why si rapper sombong yang stay di kompleks. Lirik busung lapar butuh kalori, tak perlu cara instan untuk penuhi. Legasi senantiasa akan ku berikan tiap hari di lirik.
So there you go. I would give the miniatures and the tutorials another 9 out of 10. I was really happy with how they turned out, honestly. Like I said, I think the only downfall is they're not the most detailed tutorials. They're kind of quick, short, but sweet, but this is kind of the point of them as well. So, like I said, 9 out of 10, I think that's great. That makes the total score for all of these a 28 out of 30. So if you are just getting into miniature painting, or you're just trying to try Vallejo paints for the first time, I don't think there's a better option for you. If you're really trying to upgrade your wet palette or buy your first wet palette, I mean, I'm always a proponent of just spending a little extra money the first time and buying the best you can buy. Wet palettes aren't much cheaper. Like, you can get a smaller one for like $30, but for an extra 20 bucks, you buy the bigger one, you buy the nicest one that you can buy. And so I really think that for the value, you're not going to find a better one. And like I said, it's already somehow cheaper than the other XL wet palette. But as always, it's always going to come down to personal preference. Some people probably hate Vallejo paint, and some people might not like the wet palette at all. So I don't know why, but you know, who knows? But it's definitely going to come down to personal preference and whatever fits for your style or your budget. And also keep in mind, these don't all come together, so you can buy just one of the paint sets or just the wet palette. You don't have to buy all of it all together. You could just dive in with one, see how you like it, see if you like the paint, see if you like the tutorials, or just get the wet palette. Maybe you are using other paint or you already have Vallejo paint. It's pretty flexible on what you want to do with these. But let me know what you think. Have you already tried a Redgrass Games palette in the past? Have you already painted with Vallejo paints? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this review, hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more miniature painting content, reviews, and other hobby experiments. Until next time, peace out.